Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chronic Health Collective, where we empower you to transform your life. We're gathered the best coaches and experts to bring you insights that will elevate your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Whether you're looking to boost your energy, heal relationships, or live a more productive, balanced life, we're here to guide you every step of the way. All right. Thank you for being here. I have Dawn with me. Super excited. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Dawn is a wellness advocate, author, and spiritual guide. After decades in corporate HR, a personal health crisis led her to explore emotional healing, spiritual alignment, and the power of vibrational wellness. She now guides women through transformational journeys, both inner and outer, helping them break patterns. As a member of the Chronic Health Collective, Dawn brings a grounded yet mystical perspective to self-healing and self-aligning living. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here today.
Yes, me too. Me too. We get together sometimes, but we don't really get to dive into what each other does. So I'm excited to learn more about what you do and how you serve in all of your capacity.
Yeah. So as you had mentioned, I did come from a background in human resources in the corporate environment. But just like many people, at some point in time, you realize that's really not where you want to focus your time. And I've seen a lot of craziness in the corporate world, and I'm like, I want to help people, but not from that environment. And so I transitioned, and I am now trying to help people with career transitions, try to promote better wellness in the organizations that's not, your cookie cutter type of programs, and then connect more with individuals so that they can have a better work lifestyle, because it's not easy being in the corporate. It's not easy having those mundane tasks, not easy having your life being dictated by all these structures. And so, I'm hoping that everything that I've learned on my own, personal development journey to incorporate into their lives, just to have a more peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been blessed to be home most of the time, taking care of my kids, but I can imagine going into an office every day. That would be very stressful for me. So, because that is a possibility in my near future now that all my kids are in school. And I'm like, I like being my own boss.
Yeah, stay that route. Don't go the other way.
Yeah. Well, I know you've been talking about creating more of a healthy, harmonious atmosphere for yourself. So the power of new surroundings to break up those limiting beliefs and our maybe those behaviors that we've gotten into. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, when we're stuck in a corporate environment, you really, just to be able to survive, right? That type of structure, it really is a structured life. And so every minute of your day is accounted for on this timeline. And so, that's why I feel like being able to break that mold, even just a little bit every single day, helps give us some relief of adventure, right? Because you get so stuck in that you're just doing the routines, and you're not really living anymore and you're not enjoying your life, and you forget about all the other things that you want to do. And one of the things I absolutely don't like about the corporate environment is that, they give us just so little time to take time off from work, right? You get maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of vacation a year, and that's not enough to step away from all your responsibilities and regroup and recuperate and refresh and just, not feel stressed out. And so being able to just share with the people with some tips of how to break that monotony, even if it means just, taking a different route to work a day, or taking small little adventures on the weekends when you can put that into your schedule, makes a whole lot of difference just for your overall well-being.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know the European world has a very different approach to vacations and how they spend their time.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting for me to learn that. My husband is the one that's the go to work every day, and he gets vacation days, but they're not in a row. They're like a day
Yeah.
here and a day there.
Right. Uh-huh.
And I think he gets like a total of 14, but it's, it's not usually where you take them in, all at the same time, right? They're broken up into holidays or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really get a lot done in an extra day.
Right, right. And I'm glad you brought up about the Europeans, because they really got that down. I watched a documentary once where, they give the employees a whole month off, and it's paid time for them so that they can really take a vacation from their responsibilities. And even if you, like, here in America, we have our time off, and like you were saying, it's 1 or 2 days here, right? But you're taking this vacation time, and sometimes it's not by yourself, you're taking it with your family. So you're really not stepping away from those responsibilities and allowing yourself that time to breathe and just regroup. So yeah, they got it down.
Sometimes you need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even just, how the Europeans, they make everyone take a break for lunch, right? It's siesta time, and it's like everything shuts down. We don't care about business. So yeah,
Yeah, it's not a half an hour at your desk. It's
yeah,
like a 2 hour
yeah,
go eat.
yeah, yeah. Do whatever you have to, and just giving people that an hour or 2 hours, they can get so much other things done in that time, where they don't have to be like, yeah, I'm going to take this break, but I need to be checking my emails while I'm taking this break, or I still need to have my phone connected with me. It's like people need that time to run their even personal errands throughout the work week, right? To go pay a bill, or run to the post office, run to the bank, go pick up a prescription. But if they don't have that time, they're always, stressed out, or it just never gets done. And then they're trying
Right.
to cramp it all into whatever little time they do have to be able to do it, and not be able to spend that personal time on fun stuff and things that they really want to do. Yep.
Yeah. So I know that some of the things that you suggest are stepping away and getting physical, and kind of breaking loose of that idea.
Yeah, the physical stuff. Yeah. So there's many different things. So, like, I know for our newsletter, the topic was like on travel, right? But travel doesn't have to mean, booking a trip and getting on a plane and going somewhere. Travel and doing physical things in your day could just mean, um, taking a break, doing a walk, taking a walk. What else? Like I mentioned earlier, taking a different route, eating at a different restaurant. There's just so many different things to interrupt your autopilot schedule. And then this new project that I'm working on, I call it the 3 R's of remembering, realigning, and resonance, help people kind of
Mhm.
facilitate those transitions. And yeah, I don't know what else to share with that one. I'll stop.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like, taking that moment to kind of ground yourself during the day. I know for me, when I get into a project, I'm like super focused. Time passes without my notice. I could think, oh, I'm just going to do this for 20 minutes. And then 2 hours later, I look up, taking that time to just step away from your desk, ground yourself, get some water. I think it's so important. My eye doctor is like,
Oh, no.
Ellie, you need to step away from your computer and like look 20 miles away, look way out instead of this close,
Right.
between you and your computer. Give your eyes some rest.
Mm-hmm.
Even simple things like that, just stepping outside, that's something I don't necessarily do every day either, because
Yeah.
I work at home, so I
Yeah.
don't necessarily go outside, especially because it's so hot. But yeah, so just taking that time is so important. I totally agree. I don't always do it for myself, so that's a reminder to myself as well, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, but well, even in the corporate environment, right? Your time is dictated by everyone else's schedule, and so one of the things that I used to do when I was in that environment was actually set a timer just so that I would get up and move. Because I
Yeah.
was like you, I could just, it's like 2, 4 hours later, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot that I needed to go to the restroom. I didn't take a trip. I need to hydrate. I need to eat, and you just get so overwhelmed with that. But and that's a struggle too. I think in the environment is like even when I had set my timer to like every hour just to just get up and walk down the hall or remember to go use the restroom, other people's schedules always got in the way, or I wouldn't be able to do it even if my timer went off. I'm still stuck in this meeting that was only supposed to happen for half an hour, and we're there like 3 hours later. So
Yeah.
those type of things does get in the way, and that's why people get burned out. They lose interest in their careers that they do love. And that's why I'm a big advocate to helping employers understand that work has to get done, but there's a different perspective that we can look at it so that we are helping our employees be more productive by giving them more autonomy of how they conduct their time. And one of the other things I hated most was people expecting you to respond to your emails as soon as they send it to you. They expect a response right away. I'm like, no, my job is not to be responding to emails every minute of the day. I have projects to work on. So it's those little things to navigate through that I try to help people with.
Yeah, the expectations of others can really get us, don't you think? You
Oh,
know,
oh yeah,
everybody
absolutely.
everybody thinks that their emergency is more important than anyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're that society of instant responding,
Yeah.
um, because we can, right? We have the
Mm-hmm.
technology to get those instant messages, and but I love that you have set up a proactive behavior that people can take and set a timer. Even if they can't always get up when that timer goes off, at least it is that reminder that
Mm-hmm.
they need to get up and move. And also, setting that boundary with themselves of, no, when this timer goes off, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to drink
Mm-hmm.
some water, and then get back to it, I think is really important too. And as you hold that boundary with yourself, your coworkers might even start to know, oh, well, Dawn's timer's going to go off. Dawn's going to get up. She's going to walk around. So I'll
Uh-huh.
wait a couple minutes to go confront her with whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Or, maybe they'll set a timer too, right? It's
Right.
about, influence that healthy environment by you
Yeah.
starting to have those new behaviors as well.
Uh-huh. Yep. And another thing too with setting those boundaries and setting those, schedules for yourself, another thing that employees struggle with is knowing what is priority, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like that they struggle with that. And so the other tool that I had introduced when I was an HR manager was utilizing the old time matrix model, right? The 4 quadrants, and just breaking it down as what is important and what is urgent, and being able to help them put their daily tasks into those quadrants helps them with decision makings on when to say yes and when they need to like say, okay, I have to suck it up and just get it done, or
Yeah.
can I have those boundaries and say no, it's gonna wait until later on at the end of the day. But it gives a great visual of using that matrix for everyone, not just other employees, to know what someone else is working on, being respectful of other people's times, and even leveling up, or I guess you call managing up, your supervisors who don't use a tool like that.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look,
Yeah.
this is how I'm structuring my day. This is how I decide what's important and what I need to focus on today. So how about you utilizing this tool for yourself?
Awesome. Yeah. Let's talk about that more. I want to dive in deeper, but right now we're going to take a commercial.
All right. Thank you so much.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being. From the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Welcome back. Loved your commercial. Very nice. I know we were talking about the matrix, the four quadrant, right? The 4 quadrant matrix of defining what is important to you. But I also know you wanted to kind of talk about when you're on that vacation, when you're traveling, how to, have those healthy emotional habits while you're on this journey, and staying really present in those moments as well.
Yeah, I see travel as a portal to like consciously shift your emotional patterns. It's your chance to practice being the version of yourself that you want to be, but because of external influence, don't always get to, right? And so you get to be that person that you are without any labels and any expectations. And so taking that time away is so important for your well-being, and just being able to reconnect with who you are as an individual. Because again, when you're constantly around other people, living your life by other people's expectations, you really lose your identity, or you can lose your identity along the way. And so it's just a good time to just reconnect with who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had mentioned before the 3 R's method.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 3 R's. So the 3 R's is remembering, realign, and resonate. And so remembering is like when you go out, because you're taking, so you're gonna take this time travel, right, for yourself. And so you just bring something with you to remember who you are when you were the most excited about what you were doing, remembering where you had fun, where things wasn't a struggle, where things just flowed. And then the second R is realigning. So setting daily affirmations or intentions for yourself to get back into realignment of where you want to be. And it doesn't mean like, after this trip, you're going to come back and you're going to be like, okay, I'm just totally over this career. I'm never going to do it again. Right? It's more of an extraction of the things that, that you can let go of when you do go back, but you feel a little bit more whole and connected with yourself. And then resonating is forcing, putting yourself in a situation so that you're constantly trying something new. Right? Because sometimes we get so comfortable that we don't realize, or we think, oh no, everything's okay, but that one time that you try a different restaurant, or you go to a networking event and meet someone new that shares something with you that you've never thought about, totally ignites something in you. Like, oh my gosh, where have I been? How do I not even know about this concept or this book or this person? And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, what have I been doing? Maybe I need to kind of step out of the box here, and see, because it's like, yeah, I'm excited again, and I forgot what that feels like. So those are the 3 R's. The 3 R's, and you can use those 3 concepts as well with anything else that you're doing and you're trying to get into realignment with yourself. And I also like to look at how utilizing those methods can also help you get into harmony with your emotions, your body, your spiritual being, and your physical body too, because we get so stressed out that our bodies start to wear and tear that we don't even know. And when we are not resting properly, we don't get that time to have itself reset and refresh. So yeah, that's the introduction to the 3 R's.
Yeah, I definitely know that my body has obviously been through a lot, because every time I stand up, it tells me. Right. My kids, they fall down, they get right back up. For me, it might take a little while. And
Right.
Noises.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I know that there are people who take care of their body really well, and they're way older than me, and they don't have those issues. So,
right.
Really taking care of yourself is not necessarily, I think, I don't know what the right is, an American thing to do. It seems like in our country there's extremes. People who are very dedicated, go to the gym every day type people. And then those of us like me who sit at our desk all day. And it's trying to find that middle ground that can be, a challenge. So I think that those 3 R's would definitely come into play to help you, be creative and playful and find those activities that are fun to do and don't feel like work, or we might, not think of as hard, but something we look forward to.
Yeah, it's breaking away from the routines. I mean, it's good to have structure, right? Especially when you have other people that you're you have to incorporate into your daily life. But it's also having those rituals that honors yourself, right? And not getting away from that, and being able to also pivot, because even if we get a structure that works for us, right? And we do have those times that we are honoring our personal time, but being able to pivot and being okay with saying, hey, yeah, you know what, every Wednesday is my Zumba day because that's how I release my energy. But if something else comes about that piques your interest, that makes you more excited, then you should be able to make that shift and say, yeah, I'm not going to do Zumba on Wednesday. I'm not going to do Zumba today, right? And be okay with that. It's about making those choices, because every time we choose differently, we're rewriting a part of ourselves and helping us get unstuck in those regimented routines.
Yeah. Yeah. A little spontaneity in our lives is always good. Staying present so that you see those opportunities or possibilities present themselves, and then being willing to say yes and to step out and to try something new.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We're always being introduced to new things, new ideas. I mean, that's one thing that as Americans, or just people, we are constantly bombarded with new information. And what do we do with it? Do we say, oh yeah, that's cool, or that's nice for them? Or do we seek out those opportunities for ourselves? Right? We talk about dealing with fear, right? That's what we do. And so, really, challenging ourselves and saying, is this something that, I want to do? Is this an opportunity that maybe it's scary, but I'm willing to step out and take a risk and see if it's something that, I really love and supports me.
Yeah, and I like that you folks focus that on your practice, because the fear and the limiting beliefs, people don't realize the conditions that holds them back. Like, they really don't know any better that that's something happening. Like, travel for me is my release. Like, I love that. Sometimes though, I still think I have a limiting belief, because every time I leave, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to go back home. I don't want to go back home and deal with my responsibilities. But we have to figure out a way to include both, right? But I want to share a story. When I was younger, I always was traveling because I came from divorced parents. So I would travel back and forth between families. And so I was on the airplane from the time I was 7 and traveling by myself. But,
Wow.
But when it was time when I was, got out of high school, that was my time to travel and venture. I didn't take the opportunity to leave. And when I reflected back on it later on, years later, I'm like, wow, I really had been conditioned to believe that I wasn't worthy of walking away from my family and living my life that I wanted to, that I had to, live this life that I thought I had to live. And so it's some crazy stuff, but yeah, and it has all to do with fears and limiting beliefs. But once you recognize that, now you have that choice, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not confusion, but it's just, talking through that. And when you're not making decision to still not make that change, I had to ask myself, okay, why do I think living in this old life thinks it's a better choice than taking a chance of living a new one?
Yeah.
And a lot of us have to ask ourselves those questions, and be okay with that. Yeah, be okay with change. I know in society, if you're constantly trying something new, they're like, oh, you don't know what you want. You don't know what you're doing. And that's totally not unnecessary thought to have. It's like, no, that's living. You're trying something different. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But at least you've given it time to, to see if it is something for you or not. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that we try to get our kids to decide who they want to be or what they want to do with their lives way too early in life.
Yeah.
You know, like when you think back to when you were 18 and what you're doing now, you know, do they, even, you know, would your 18-year-old self ever have thought you're doing what you're doing now? Mine would not, for sure. And, you know, so if I was stuck with that 18-year-old desire, I would have a completely different life, you know? So, you know, I think that being open to new things and new possibilities definitely is the way to go. You know, my kids constantly change their minds on, you know, who they want to be or what they want to be doing. And so I'm constantly asking questions, you know, like, well, what's the plan now? You know, what are we dreaming about now? And I think that is, you know, so much more supportive, because if we don't, then they can almost get stuck in that unknown or that pressure of, you know, that one thing that they want to do. And, you know, it might not be what they actually, you know, underneath all of that pressure want to be doing. And I think that, you know, when we get older, then, and we start letting go, you know, of some of that stuff, we then start to see, oh, I want to travel more. Oh, I want to, you know, start my own business and leave the corporate world. Oh, I want to support people in this area instead of this area. We had a client that came to one of our workshops, and at the end of it, she's like, you know, I love to paint, and I haven't allowed myself to paint for, you know, years. And I'm going to start, you know, setting aside time to paint again. And so it's like, even things like that, you know, that when we were younger, we used to love to do, and then responsibilities and adulting got in the way, and we put them to the side. And, you know, that realignment, right, that can bring us to the awareness of, hey, I used to love this, and it really, you know, fed me. Let me set aside time. Let me invest in myself and start doing that again, for sure. And I think travel is like that. Is like that too. I know for me, I've always wanted to travel because my mom has always traveled, and I've always been jealous of how she's gone to all of these amazing places. And most of the time when I travel, it's for work. So, you know, when I can actually travel and be able to relax and enjoy and see the environment and not be in the conference room all day, it's actually feeding instead of draining when you get home, right? I love that. And I think that when we put ourselves in new places that we haven't been before, and we allow for whatever is going to come, and we take advantage of these new opportunities because we're in a new place, you know, we can really grow from that experience. And when we come home, we can then give that new growth to what we were doing, you know?
Yeah. And you know what else? Traveling or just taking yourself out of your old environment also can give you the experience and change your perspective on the things that you forgot to be grateful for. You know,
yeah, for sure.
You feel like it's beating you down, but then you go to like maybe like another country or another state, and like, oh man, I'm glad I'm not living in this condition, or I'm not, you know, having to deal with this every single day. So yeah, it helps us to be grateful for the things that we do have that we forget about. So yeah, it can totally help us change our perspectives in many different ways.
For sure. I love taking my kids places because I feel like it really opens their eyes to a more expansive world.
Yeah.
When we just stay in one place, we think of, our world is very small.
Mm-hmm.
We may read about these places, these other places, but they're not really real. And so when we travel and we actually see them and experience them, what's possible in general becomes bigger.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And I think that, that, is an important thing for us to allow and give ourselves permission to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Experiences are a lot better than just, expecting them to understand and dream up something that they read from a book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have loved where we have gone with this conversation. We are going to have one more commercial break and then we will be back.
Okay.
Be attentive to what you tune into, attentive to love and curiosity, interest and enthusiasm. Passion is love. And when we talk about love, it's love of self, love of others, love of God, love of the process. Passion is that place, that sweet spot where we are living intentionally, we are living attentively.
Welcome back. All right. I am super, super excited to get back into it with you. Excuse me. And I want to hear more about your story and what got you into stepping away from corporate and developing this system and supporting others.
Yeah. So I had been with a former employer for about 12 years, and it was so trying on my time because it was like 6-7 days a week, 12 16-hour days. And that back then I was a single parent and my kids were in elementary school. And so I did have some flexibility where it wasn't so much where I had to, worry about losing my job because I had to leave work to go pick up my kids. But what was tiresome was that after I picked them up, then I was continuing work when I was at home. Therefore, I wasn't present for my children. When I look back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't fully present for them. They had what they needed. They had a roof over their head. They had food to eat. They had their activities and, all that kind of stuff. But like you were mentioning earlier, I would have had loved to given them more experiences so that they could have more choices of what they chose for their careers. They're 24 and 26 now, and they're still trying to figure their way out. And I don't force them in any way to say like, hey, you should have been done with college by now, or why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you doing that? It's like I want them to have that self-exploration so that when they get to my age, they're not going to be what everyone calls a midlife crisis and like not knowing who they are as individuals, right? I'm just giving them a little bit more space to figure things out. And so a lot of encouragement with that. But with that corporate job, I finally decided to walk away because it was just so toxic. The stress that I endured, the time restrictions, and then not being fully valued for what I was providing, right? And so a lot of times we feel we get validation from our job that we need in our personal lives, but it's the wrong place to get the validation. And then it makes you feel a lot worse about yourself. And you're like, wait a minute, I still feel crappy, but I'm making all this money. And so, it's like things about abundance, right? We were thinking, oh, I want financial abundance because I can do these things. But once I walked away and I started doing a lot more personal development and a lot of more, just exploring my spirituality, um, I ran into different mentors that helped me to understand what abundance really means. And it's not just about having the financial means to do things, but it's just simply being able to do what you need to do when you want to do it, right? And
Yeah.
sorry, I got to shift my chair here. I'm like falling off.
You take care of you.
Right, but yeah, so that led me to that, and in knowing what is really important and how I do that. And then also too, I got so fixated about money that I was so focused on my career because I wanted to maintain a level of income, especially because I was a single mom too. But then I also realized through the work that I did on my personal development is like I can do all the things that I want if I learn how to do more with less, right? And
Yeah.
so, like how even you were talking about that one gal that decided to go back and doing art, right? I bet you she never had thought that, hey, I could actually make a living by doing what I love. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand when people are talking about, just learn to learn what your passion is and follow that, right? And they're not making that connection of how those two resonate together. That, yes, figure out what you enjoy doing every day, like what you get up, you wake up in the morning, what are you excited to do? And you can actually make a living from that, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a so-called structured corporate career that where you have to do a 4-year degree and you have to do a 9 to 5 job and all that stuff. So yeah, that's my journey. It's been a crazy ride. But I'm glad that I went through this because now I get to share that with my children and hope that they're not gonna have that many struggles with just living a more full life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. I always want to present, right? A a healthy, approach to this or that, and for my kids. And when I can, because it doesn't happen all the time, but when I can, it's so rewarding. And we can do that for other people as well. I think we forget how much of an impact we can have on each other and how we can inspire others just by showing up and being ourselves and embracing what we're passionate about and being willing to share that with others. And maybe we do it as a job and maybe we don't, but I think that we can find what we're passionate in a lot of things if we're open and willing to see it that way. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a Broadway star. I wanted to be on stage and all of that. Well, that is not what happened. But I can create a stage or a platform and share what I have, shine my light on what I'm passionate about without being on Broadway. It's not the same, but it's similar, right? I'm still satisfying that need of standing up and sharing what I'm passionate about, and also allowing myself time, which I have, to be on the stage as well. Not Broadway, it's a local theater, but I still get to go on stage and I still get to be a character and sing and dance and interact with all of my theater friends. And it is exhausting and tiring, but it is also so fun and rewarding when you're on stage. And so, that's not what I do every day or even what I do a lot of. But when that opportunity presented itself, I was willing to say yes, so whatever it is that feeds you only is going to make you better at everything else you do. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that we forget as adults, that these things that we did as fun, if we allow them to still be a part of our lives in some way, that helps us, with the things that we're choosing to do now. We used to play soccer when we were kids. Well, there are, people, I'm sure, that still want to get together and play soccer. You could have a pickup game or whatever, right? Or, still playing that instrument from high school, or, painting like my clients. It's not necessarily, has to be, where we change our life and become an entrepreneur, but still allowing time for those things, I think, is so important. Leaving time to reflect and, ground, to leave time for travel and adventure and spontaneity, leave time for those moments to unplug and relax. And allowing it to look different than other people. It doesn't have to look one way or the other. It can be what really feeds us. And I think that sometimes we can get stuck, right, in that that routine, and forget that there's all these other possibilities around us, and they're available, right? If we believe they are, right, let go of those limiting beliefs and say, yes, I can invest time or money or energy in this other thing, and it's not going to take away, it's going to add to.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people overly complicate the decision making for themselves, to be able to do that, because even like what you were expressing, you have your schedules, you have your responsibilities, but you still are making time for what honors you, right? Because it flows, that so what I like to share with people is that if you're doing something and there's even just a little bit of hesitation, then that's an automatic no for you, right? To revisit and revisit what you're doing and see, it's like, maybe I need to take that part of my life away and then focus on something else. So the decision to get there, right, is really that simple. Because again, if there is a hesitation, I think what people get wrong is that they hear so much now about fears and limiting beliefs, but not understanding that inside you, follow your tuition. It's telling you, your body telling you no, and you don't listen.
Or not now.
Yeah,
right?
And it could
not
just
now.
be not now. Absolutely, right? So it's like, I I hope people can grasp that, because there's so much to live for, and it doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't require a lot of sacrifice, but just honor yourself, and you'll flow so much better, and all the right people and the right opportunities is going to come your way, and you're just going to have that joy that you're seeking, and being able to be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, letting go of this all or nothing, black or white mentality has been, when I can step away from that, because that is my tendency, I can really see more possibilities. And when I let go of that need to know how to do it, right, like that beginner's mindset, I allow myself to do those things that might be scary, but I'm really feeling called to do. That's how I started baking. I really hesitated for learning how to bake, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to try things out. And now I love it.
Yeah.
And I do it with my kids, and, you know, I challenge myself with, you know, different things. And, you know, it can be as simple as that, you know, just stepping into something new that you can do on the weekend, or you can, and it's really easy to share that with others. You know, people love when you show up to their house with sweets,
right?
Or baked goods. So it's something that you can, it's a passion you can share real easily as well. And so I love that as well. You know, if you're a painter, you can share, you know, a piece of art. If you're, if you love to ride bikes, you can invite a friend to come along, you know, or if you like to be by yourself, you know, you can find, you know, you can find different places to go for walks, or, you know, plan trips to scenic places that you can go and experience. You know, there's all different kinds of ways that we can really dig in and find those places that can open us up and create more space for spontaneity, or listening to our intuition, you know, and experiencing new things and new routines and new behaviors and new beliefs, and, you know, getting more grounded and aligned with who we truly are. I think a lot of people, they're so busy, they don't know who they really are. And they're just following the societal norm. They're just, you know, they went to school, they went to college, they got a job, they go to work every day. You know, they got married, they got a house, they had their 2.5 kids. And then, you know, they wonder why they're not happy. And so, I have loved our conversation today.
Yes, absolutely.
And I want to ask maybe a little interesting question. So we've been talking about getting aligned. We've been talking about traveling, and really being open to that spontaneity. So I want to hear a story about somewhere you went and some spontaneity adventure that you went on, and how it played out.
So one of my mentors had a class that he was hosting in France, Marseille.
Oh, wow.
And I decided to go on this trip by myself. So I literally traveled the globe that week. I traveled from Hawaii, and I took the route to Haneda, Japan. And I spent a day there. I got a little feel of Japan. Then I went from Japan to Heathrow, and then backtracked it to France. And that was just like insane. I couldn't even believe I did that trip by myself. It was a 14-hour flight from Haneda to Heathrow. But when I finally got to France, you know, it was like it wasn't a culture shock, but it was just, I couldn't believe that I had the courage to go do it, and especially on my own. But the culture shock happened a couple days after. So I did my class, and I met up with a bunch of other people that was doing the class. But there was an incident that happened where a teenage boy got shot by the French police.
Oh, wow.
So the community decided to riot. So I got to firsthand deal with, you know, a riot in France where they locked down the streets at night, because once the sun set, it was a totally different world. You know, they were breaking down walls, they were looting, they were setting cars on fire. And when my last night there, we went to dinner, and I told the gals, can we please, you know, get back to our hotels before the sun goes down, but we didn't. And yeah, we ended up in the riot and like literally running back to our homes, but I mean, our hotel. So that was a crazy adventure. But yeah,
Wow.
the biggest adventure I did, and I'm really glad that I did it. And just to let everyone else know, it doesn't have to be a plane ticket to begin your new adventure. You just need that moment of clarity and willingness to choose yourself and just go for it. Go for it. And there's a lot of other people who want to do the same, but you need to step out and find those people to join you on your adventure.
Yeah. Love it. That's a crazy story. Wasn't expecting that. All right. Well, Dawn, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my website is listed below, New Dawn Holistic Health, or you can follow me on Instagram, or email me at info@newdawnholistichealth.com.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I have enjoyed our conversation
Same
so
here.
much.
Thank
So
you,
much.
Kelly. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And if today's discussion resonated with you, don't hesitate your journey alone or navigate. Sorry, that was the wrong word. Don't navigate your journey alone. Book a complimentary consultation with our expert coaches at chronichealthcollective.com for personalized support. Subscribe to our Chronic Health Collective monthly magazine for valuable tips from all 14 coaches to alleviate every area or elevate. I'm saying the wrong words again. Elevate. To elevate. We want to elevate, every area for your life. Join us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, or catch past episodes anytime at e360tv.com or youtube.com/at Chronic Health Collective. We will see you next week.
Yay!